Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Some Sort of Gaming Podcast. Today is February 3rd, 2021, and I'm here with LadyInfamous, UnsheathedProductions, and Zeldrick here. We are going to be talking about G4, and God, where did my thing go? Oh yeah, okay. So we're going to be talking about G4, Stadia, Stadia Game Studios, GameStops, and I'm gonna guess more in the line of Biomutant and how they are doing the cinematic and actual gameplay trailer stuff. So, anyways, before we get started, this is how since there might be new people here, we're gonna be talking. We're gonna start off with what we've been doing this past week, and we're gonna be talking about the news, and then possibly some normal Q&A type of thing later on if we have time. But before we get started with the news, LadyInfamous, what you been up to this past week?
Ooh. This week was interesting. I didn't really do much gaming. You know, I had some things I had to take care of. I have been practicing more on Modern Warfare, Call of Duty. I think I might be level prestige 4 or 5 coming up. There's going to be like a double XP weekend coming up, so I'm going to take advantage of that. Completed Gears 5 High Busters DLC. I don't know if I said that, but I think we started it last week. This week we finished it. It was a good experience. I really enjoyed it. It was so clean on my Xbox. It was so good. Also, I've been playing Call of Duty 3, the one that came out in 2006. So I was having a conversation with one of my homies, and they told me that, oh, you played only 13 of them? You didn't play the first 3? Oh, then you didn't really play them all, did you? I was like, okay, let me go check how much these games cost. I'm like, 3 and 2 is on Xbox for $20 a piece, and then I think I can get Call of Duty 1 on Steam. So I started with 3, and let me tell you that there are some things that has not changed in Call of Duty. Is ridiculous. There's always going to be a car chase by the train. It's always rescuing someone getting shot, like one of your crewmates die and stuff. And I was playing on normal, and it was difficult for me. You can run, you can slide, you can dolphin dive. It was stand up, prone, and kneel. That's all you had. You can walk fast, but you can't run. Your NPCs are gonna run faster. And but I did complete it yesterday, so I'm happy. On to the next one. And I've been catching up on Attack on Titan, and I don't want to spoil it, but yeah, I'm in my feelings right now.
What do you mean catching up? Do you mean like you just started it, or like you're watching the most recent season?
The most recent season.
Oh, I was caught. Fantastic.
Huh?
It's fantastic.
I watched it. I was caught up before the new season started, so I didn't want to wait like a couple of Sundays every Sunday, so I just let it. I hold for like maybe 2 or 3 weeks, and I just binge watched it. I'm on a vibe now, and I ain't gonna spoil it, but god damn it. Anyway, what y'all been doing?
I'll go next. I actually didn't get to do that much in terms of like video games this week. Unfortunately, because work kind of ramped up, had a lot of stuff to do, and I already usually don't do weekends, but during the week, like I said, just had a lot of programming to do and like a bunch of new projects that came onto our plate. So I didn't get to play much, but I did get to play a little bit of the Medium. I think I played about 2 hours of it because it was available on Game Pass, and gotta say, wasn't so far not a huge fan of it.
I'm dying to know why.
Because I don't know. For me, I think it's just not specifically what I expected. Like it kind of feels to me less like horror. Like there was one jump scare in there or whatever. But that was about it. What's that?
The people.
Yeah, exactly. That was the first time I got jumped. Yeah, and I think what was it? Delilah was playing too, right? Lady Infamous, Delilah HD, and I think she got scared at the exact same point. But that was like the first time it had like any sort of like scary moment. Other than that, it's just kind of like, I don't know. It feels a little bit too much like I knew I was gonna blank out on the name of this game. The one with the origami killer. What's it called?
Heavy Rain.
Heavy Rain. There you go. Feels a little bit more like Heavy Rain than I expected it to, where it's just like a lot of exploration.
It's more drama?
Not as no. Just more so like it feels like a lot of the game you're playing is just kind of like walking around with kind of these weirdish controls, and more so there's a lot of story exposition as compared to there being a lot of action. I don't feel like a ton has happened in what I've done thus far.
So it's like Layers of Fear, just like their other game.
It could, yeah.
No, actually, you know
I get
what?
it,
No. That's the thing, because when I have watched Layers of Fear, I think it might be the perspective that you play in, because the Heavy Rain sort of feel, or Detroit Become Human, like all the Quantic Dream games.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Detroit Become Human is its own, like, it's horror to some in like political sense or whatever, and it's laughable. Or
Yeah.
but like Heavy Rain has like a murder mystery and just horrific stuff going on, and a drama. I think if you put that in a first person's perspective, like, you might get a different feeling from it. But Layers of Fear actually has like a psychological fear to it. And
Well, I think what he was trying to say is like probably mechanically it kind of feels like Heavy Rain in terms of like in terms of like, for me personally, when I played God, I already forgot the name of it, the horror game you guys were just saying. Layers of Fear. Yeah. When I played that, it felt like there's a lot of atmosphere, there's a lot of like build up for not very much to happen. I think that's what he's saying. Mechanically, it absolutely doesn't feel anything like Layers of Fear, but I don't know. I feel like there's not a crazy amount that's happening thus far in the game.
Did you play like Observer or Blair Witch?
I don't know. I didn't play Blair Witch. Maybe LadyInfamous will know, but
I don't know about that game. I don't know about that Blair Witch. Why would you do that? You know,
because you played it.
But you know I didn't finish though.
True.
Okay, so I didn't finish it.
Well, I would say that
all the reason why I named those is because they're all made by the same developer.
Well, okay. Here's one that I'll point out that's not by the same developer. Soma.
I saw the Let's Play. I saw Let's
Soma.
Play.
Yeah.
That was a good one. I might want to play that low key.
Maybe.
Okay.
I don't know. I've never played that. But yeah.
Well, they're like this. Soma is made by the same guys as Amnesia, if I'm correct.
Right, but what I'm saying is that it's more of like, because of the perspective plus horror, like, and it's not going to be the same as Amnesia. That it less like that, but more like Soma, where it's just like there's build up, and from what I've heard, that like you just get like these chunks of a payoff, but there's a ton of build up.
Okay. So yeah, that's I think for a lot of me, I just haven't run into the payoff yet. So even in this game, that might be the case too, but I just don't know.
Okay.
But either way, like I said, it's just been kind of underwhelming, and I've only given it 2 hours thus far, so it's not really like I can say, for a fact that the rest of the game isn't like that. But really, that's all I got a chance to play, and then I got a chance. I've been actually watching at JSharpie's request, Haikyuu, the anime.
Did you hike?
Did you?
How far did you get?
I just wanted to see, make the little wordplay. I think I'm not too far into it. I feel like it might be 10 episodes or something like that. I'm into it, and it's fun so far.
How do you feel about it so far?
No, it's cool so far. Like, I don't have any, like, I don't take any issues with it, and I get kind of a little bit of what you were saying, where you said it feels like every character has their own little story arc, so it feels like everybody can be kind of a main character. But it's fun to me. It feels like
you were afraid that when I said that everybody was like it was going to spread everybody too thin.
Yeah, in a way, yeah. But at the same time, I don't like, even though they have their stories, like thus far, it hasn't felt like anybody has had like a full story except for basically the two main characters. Which is that feels kind of standard for anime, but I'm not mad at the show. It's actually really good so far. So, clearly gonna keep watching that. But that's about it. Sorry. Go ahead.
What type of anime is, or I guess I should say, what type of show is Haikyuu?
Yeah, for the people who don't watch it.
Is basically, I guess to give you a quick description, it is basically the story of like a kid who wants to play volleyball, isn't able to play it when he's younger because he can't find a team, he can't find people to play with. And then when he finally goes to, I guess, is it university or what would you call, or is it high school?
Oh, no, it's a high school.
It is. Okay. I just didn't know if the terms were different, whatever. Goes to high school, joins a team, and basically they're trying to build themselves back up to be like the best team. There's like other facets to it, but that's just the short version of it.
Okay.
So yeah, it's just kind of them seeing him get better, seeing him go through trials and tribulations. Also, other people on the team and in the story going through their own trials and tribulations and stuff like that. But still comedic. You know, it's anime
and it's realistic, but then very entertaining.
It's very entertaining.
I like how he agreed with you on one.
Well, the reason why is because a lot of volleyball people, like I watched a volleyball coach talk about it, and he's like saying, yeah, he like on YouTube, he talks about like the anime, and he's like, yeah, like this is very realistic, like everything about what they do and talk about, and like what you go through, and how big of a team-oriented game this is. Unlike, you know, a lot of other sports where it's like it's really focused on one person and all that.
But I gotta ask, like, what region of the world was this volleyball coach?
Oh, he's from San Francisco.
Okay.
So
no, that answers like everything because
I know this because his videos shows my high school.
Yeah. Oh, his video. Yeah, they definitely go into like what each position is supposed to be doing and like how they play together and stuff like that. And that stuff definitely feels very accurate.
Okay.
Some of it not so much, but that's just because it's anime. But they do definitely take into account real like volleyball. So, but yeah, great show so far. And like actually, from what I've seen, I'd recommend other people to watch it as well. But that's all I got to do. How about you, Zeldrick? What you been up to?
It feels like a whole big fat nothing. Like I guess. It feels like it, but since like the last podcast and like a little bit before that, like I've had to cut down on how much internet I'm using by a lot, and haven't been able to stream. So, took some of that time to kind of like kind of hermit a little bit and focus on the classes. And I'm partially glad I did because I did need that time to really focus on it, but it's mainly because like the start of this calc class was like 3 different sections for one homework, and it's usually not that. It's just like to hit the ground running.
When did you start this class? Was it like this semester or like did last semester?
As of today 2 weeks ago.
Oh, okay, cool. So this is new.
Yeah. So but things are going to pick up again for me. Like it's the new month. I can stream again, and but what I did do, I didn't really play any like Bayonetta, but I did run a raid in Destiny 2. And I did the Garden of Salvation. I posted a few pictures on my Twitter, and that I gotta say, like, this is the only game I have ever wanted an ultra wide monitor for, because all of those sceneries, those backdrops, everything is so beautiful. Like if you can be walking through like grass or flowers or whatever, and you can notice that it's like a texture or like a 2D or whatever, like that sort of thing. But if you like all of the scenery out in the distance, actual backdrops, they look phenomenal. And then you have these set pieces that look so spectacular. And along with an ultra wide monitor, I wish I had that the game had a photo mode for it, because I wanted to take like panoramic shots as well. Mm-hmm. That shit took me like 5.5 hours to do. That raid is ridiculous. Like everything leading up to the final boss was great. The final boss sucked because it's filled with bugs. And I'm not even talking about like a literal sense. Like the end boss is so buggy, and they never fixed it. And the tether mechanic they have is like atrocious. And we kept fucking up on like things that weren't our fault. It's just the way that like they built the fight and everything, the mechanic around their engine. It sucks. But for doing a quest and then going through these puzzles throughout the entire raid and then beating the raid in one go through, you get a raid weapon an exotic weapon that's called Devotion, I think it's called. And it's really, really good. So I'm really, really happy about that. Because I've never really beaten a raid in Destiny 1 or 2 when it was current content. Garden of Salvation is not current, but it's previous. It's before Beyond Light. I'll be playing Deepstone Crypt, which is current, at some point in the next few weeks. But then I played some Final Fantasy XIV, of course. We had a good couple of days with doing mount farms, bird farm, dog farm last week for Heaven's Ward and Stormblood. We're running like the same thing over and over again, but for birds, we can like kill each one in under like 30 seconds because we had a full group. And then we got almost everybody all of their birds. And if you get all of them within an expansion, you get like one that is like the mega for collecting all of them. So that was a good turnout last week. And then actually nobody showed up for the dog farm. So not that it was like a disappointment, it just meant that I had more time to work on homework. But other than that, and then last Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which I played more of because I beat all of it, and I beat the last Blade DLC, the first Blade DLC. And I was sorely disappointed in that. I guess it's just more disappointment in the entire game of Odyssey. And then I'm on the Fate of Atlantis DLC, and that has episodes in it as well. That right there is like, not that it's disappointment, it's just that I spent what felt like so long on the Fate of Atlantis, and then I reached Ubisoft Presents The Fate of Atlantis Episode 1. I'm like, fuck, this shit's not over yet? What? So it's like now I have like 3 episodes of Fate of Atlantis to go. And just like Curse of the Pharaohs and Origins, I reached something that is visually interesting of like gods and monsters and stuff. So I was like, all right, I'm going to stop playing this and maybe consider playing it on stream. But I guess I'm just going to say this as my sort of like short review of Odyssey. Assassin's Creed Odyssey should have came before Origins. Because...
Why do you say that?
Because Origins, like, you could see the similarities of, like, Assassin's Creed lore or visuals or anything like that. In the base story of Origins, you can kind of see, like, the visual similarities in clothing and stuff. And then the last... I forget what the DLC is called. The first DLC is called. That's not Curse of the Pharaohs and Origins, where Bayek is introduced to the assassins of Egypt, and that gives you a relation to the Assassin's Creed overall, whatever the fuck. But in the base game, you kind of already get like the similarities. In Odyssey, all of the like main story with before the DLC has like almost no relation to the like assassins and Templar sort of thing, except there's a bunch of cultists. They have like this dominating plan for the whole world, and it's just like, okay, they're just really evil fucklords that just like want to take over and like be under like this neutrality sort of, or not neutrality, be under like one sort of order for like the entire world without like, you know, the thoughts of like, everybody has their own like creativity and opinion and like democracy and all this other stuff. It's just like rule with an iron fist sort of thing. And like more of like the ends justify the means is like every single cultist. The ends justify the means is like almost every single like story that each cultist has to tell or what they like plan on or whatever. And then you get to the first Blade DLC in Odyssey, and then like that's the only relation to any of the to anything else, and that's to Origins, and that's to Origins one DLC that I can't remember the name of. That's not Curse of the Pharaohs. So like all of Odyssey has nothing to do. What feels like has nothing to do with Assassin's Creed, and then you get to the first DLC, and it only relates to one thing of one DLC in the previous game. So it's just kind of like it feels like it's this outlier that's like out in bumfuck nowhere. But also Odyssey takes place before Origins, so because it's ancient Greece. So yeah, I didn't watch any shows. I didn't continue with Medical Police. I've just been trying to fix my sleep schedule, and I haven't had time for like anything else. So Sharpie, what have you been up to this week?
For me, I just been playing. I played Squadrons again, or Star Wars Squadrons, and I was looking up on like drifting in that game, and my God, like I was trying to figure out how to drift on the normal controller because I don't have a stick, right? So, so I've been trying to figure out like how to drift. I mean, I know how to drift, except it's really hard to do that because default controls, it makes you like press down on the left stick to do a boost, and then you press it down again to do like a little like brake mechanic thing where you start and then you have to turn with it. What makes it hard is that because it's on a stick, like sometimes like when you're pressing it down, you're kind of like you're tilting the stick, right? So it's like you're also moving the ship at the same time. So I learned that you should rebind the key to like left trigger, and what left trigger's default button is also like to communicate with your team to like target something, right? So I rebound that to a different key on the controller, and then I was like saying this is way better to like be able to boost on the left trigger than to like press it down on the left stick. So I learned something new, and then it made the game so much more accessible for me to actually do like crazy maneuvers in that game, and I'm able to like dodge shit now. Anyways, so I did that, and I played Control for the first time.
How was it?
It looks amazing. It plays nice. I just don't like the story to it.
It's not that great.
Like I like there's like very like little plot, and you have to find the story to it. Like I went through like 80 dossiers, and I'm like saying, is this what the whole game is going to be about? Like, and not only that, it's kind of scary too because you hear all these incantations like all over the place, right? So it's just like people are like inciting like these kind of a dead people like just inciting. So I was like saying, dude, this shit is creepy as fuck. Not only that, like I've been trying to figure like I played like what 6 or 7 hours of the game already, and then like I looked it up a walkthrough, and then I was like I looked up the walkthrough to see like how far I am, and I'm like saying, dude, I'm halfway through the game and I still don't know what the game is about. So
that sucks.
Right? Like I know what the purpose of the characters are, but then like I was just trying to think like I'm like saying, so why am I here? I know why I'm here. I just don't know like why she's not surprised about a lot of these things that's happening. Like it's like she's able to use these powers, but then it doesn't explain like why she can use these powers, or she's not even phased on why she has that ability and all that. I was like saying, I don't get this story at all. Like I'm so confused on what's going on. So that was like
so what I was gonna say is that like it might like my thought is that it's probably going to be the same as you, which is like you might find a lot like at the end of the base game, but because our Ultimate Edition comes with 2 DLCs, one that has like a relation to a different game that they made, and then one that is, I think, just like more lore or plot that I don't know, because I can't remember it.
I doubt it because I looked it up on like forums and all that, and if anybody that actually beat the game, and they say the same thing, right? Except that some people, they enjoy like the discoverability of the story, and that's what I think this game is towards. So you might like it because you like discoverability of story, right? It's like, you know,
yeah,
like the meta.
Yeah, I do like that. The only thing I don't like is that if the game makes it so that to be able to find out the story, you have to discover it with like reading like dossiers and stuff, or with like voiceovers and or audio logs and stuff like that. But like if they put them out of order and they
You
are
might miss
cryptic
it.
with each message, yeah, I'll completely miss it. I'll just be like, this is way over my head, because like I just don't know what the hell is going on. So then if the game actually like says like, oh, you caught like, here's this one, this one, this one, and this one that you got in the order that you are finding them, but they're like 1, 5, 3, 10, and then like the game in their logs say that, oh, here's them in order, I'll then go in order and be like, okay, this is the sequence of events, and I can like read as the chronological, like as shit is happening, what happened in the past and what is going on in the future or present. Then yeah, it makes it more understanding for me. But if you're going to make it really cryptic, but I have to find it, it's just like, no, please don't do that. Just tell me what the plot is in some form.
Yeah, I want the story to be told to me instead of like I have to like figure out what the story is even about.
I will say that the one game that I that did do that, but and it wasn't cryptic, it told it to you, but you also had to read it, was Final Fantasy 13. And like it gave you a visual or like a diary like log as things happen, and it gave you more information of what was going on, but the cutscenes and stuff didn't actually tell you what was happening in the background. That shit sucked. I was like, just give me the cutscene of them explaining that. Don't make me read that, because you obviously went through the trouble to write it out.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, anyways, that's my experience with Control. Like, I'm probably not gonna even finish it. I'm probably gonna just read up on what people, what it's even kind of about, and I'm like, even then, I'm probably gonna feel like, yeah, it's not making a whole lot of sense to me, because that's how I feel. I don't know if anybody else played it, but like that's how I felt.
I did, and I basically ended up like in a similar situation. I think I played like 8 hours or so, and then just kind of stopped. I might go back to it though, but we'll see.
How did you feel about it? Were you like, I'm confused about the story?
I mean, I don't know if I'm one of those people who like my attention span can drift anyway. I wasn't paying that much attention to the story. I was just kind of like having fun using powers and killing weird looking
that was great
people. Yeah. So, but
I
can tell you right now, I don't know anything about the story except for like some old dude got killed and I think you took his gun or something, and then all of a sudden, or something like that, I don't know. And all of a sudden you had powers and you became the new boss or something. I don't know. That's all I got.
That shit was so confusing to me. I was like, why did that happen? How come everybody thinks this is a normal thing? Nope, they don't even explain that. So
you're essentially the mafia. You killed the head boss. You're now the head boss.
Yeah, but people just automatically assume, because nobody else was around when that happened. So it's just like, it's automatically assumed that you're the next boss. I'm like, oh, you're the new director. I'm like, how do you know this? Like, it's kind of like that.
Because you said the director, I have some theories now.
Yeah. Well, anyways, that is it for me. Anyways, let's get on with the news, and I'm gonna start. So, we all know about GameStop, and we all know how GameStop's couldn't keep itself alive, so Reddit was doing it for them. And after giving the news to marinate for some time, so now that we have like, you know, everything's kind of calmed down now, like, and we can see we've talked about like gaming businesses and how, you know, we think about like certain how certain companies run their businesses, and how we think like, you know, it's very predatory when it comes to like some certain microtransactions and stuff like that. But when it comes to like, now that more people are aware, and I think like, you know, because it happened to GameStop, this happened to GameStop, it seems like, you know, a lot of gamers are like more, I would say, like aware of how the market works and stuff like that, or they're starting to get the idea of how the market works because of all this news. Do you think this is going to change how publicly traded game companies will take their direction? Because now that people are aware of the market, more people are starting to get invested in the market, or more gamers, I would say. Do you think like there will be like, my thing is like, you know, I know this is like a more confusing type of question, so I'm going to lay it out a little bit so it's much more easier to understand. Is like, do you think like companies like EA and all that, they're going to stop making like more quality games and start making more like microtransaction-y games, like way more than they were doing before, and other like publicly traded companies will start doing that way more now?
So if I could not like weigh in on like as an answer or whatever, but like, because EA already has investors.
Yeah,
and,
through a
like,
publicly traded company. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So like, if a lot of people, I guess the consensus on like EA and like the microtransactions, like people already don't like them. Like, is your idea that they would get more stocks in their company, or more people to buy stocks into their company, because like, oh, now that gamers know how to buy stocks, now we should stop our microtransactions so that gamers buy more of our stocks?
No, I don't think it's the issue. I don't think that the gaming companies are going to change the way they make games so it can be more appealing for people to put money on their stocks. I think it sheds a light of how normal people had it. You know, normal people took an opportunity to invest in a stock, me included, that went well. And the problem wasn't really about the video games. It was a problem about the regulation of the stocks. I don't think after this, I don't think anything would change. I think it's business as usual. I think I know that more gamers, more streamers are at least knowledgeable about what's going on. And I think it's okay. I think knowledge is power. And if it do, I just don't, with the projects that are a few projects that's coming up, especially on EA's side. I don't know if they're going to do NCAA 14, but I heard they're going to come out with that. It's still going to be microtransaction. They're going to be more and more. That's never going to change. And it's up to us to see if you want to invest in that company. Like, that's up to the individual. But I don't think things are going to change as far as people making their games.
Okay, so the reason why I brought this up is because like I have a feeling that because of Reddit and because of like, you know, all these gamers are more aware now, like, you know, combine those two at the same time, and then somebody's going to post something on Reddit saying like let's just try to bomb EA and stuff like that, right? And then like all these people are gonna, like, all these retail traders are going to start like being organized as a whole, instead of having an institutional trader, right? Where they, you know, they're like the big boys, right? You know, the big boys right now. But then like it seems like Reddit is now becoming the big boy as a collected effort of all the retail traders. And they're going to start like saying like, okay, let's just buy a bunch of EA stock and see what they do. Right. And then if EA says like, oh, we're going to make more microtransaction games, which will help you guys make more money. Therefore, you guys are going to make more money. Therefore, we're going to get a lot more investors. Therefore, we're going to only make microtransaction games.
Okay, but
that can happen to Activision. That can happen to Ubisoft.
That.
Yeah,
I understand. But if you solely betting your extra money on investing based on a Reddit post, then you shouldn't be investing in the first place.
That is true. That is true. No, what I'm trying to say is it's more like what can affect the gaming industry and like the games that will be coming out.
So I think one thing I'm kind of slightly confused on is why you think that there's the potential that if their stock price goes up, all of a sudden they'll say, let's make more microtransactions games. If that's kind of like
because that's what helps make them money.
Sure, but like it also seems to be the main thing that the gaming community complains about.
Exactly, but then the gaming community's mind can shift too.
But you can't be thinking about that when you're talking about your pocket money, though.
I have a feeling if anything, what would probably happen is if that happened, people immediately would be like, okay, I'm not investing in your company anymore. Like even though you're making more money, it's kind of like, I don't know. I feel like a lot of people probably wouldn't sacrifice their fun in gaming unless you're talking about people who aren't playing for it. Let's say EA as an example. Are you talking about people who don't play EA games maybe doing that?
I'm not just talking about EA games.
I'm just saying for an example,
to like any gaming company right now.
I'm saying EA as an example, like because EA has had issues with the whole microtransactions thing in the past. If it's like people who don't play the EA games might give them a bunch of money and they say, oh yeah, this is how we make even more money for you, but it's also not impacting you. Like for example, if they did that, it wouldn't necessarily impact me.
Oh yeah, that can happen too. Yeah,
but
that can technically happen too. But like as a collective effort through a single Reddit subreddit, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
like one person can just blow this up, and then they say like, "Here's hella money for Activision, and let's just try to bring like pump Activision up like crazy vertically."
Okay, let me go ahead. Zeldrick, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Thing, like that would just create, or that would need to. What would need to happen is the exact same situation as GameStop, which is we had a bunch of short sellers like banking on all of like what Melvin was doing, and then some memers of Reddit or whoever then just blows it through the sky. And then like run those short sellers to the ground and all this other stuff. Well, as it stands right now, I actually just looked it up. Electronic Arts is $140 a share, and Activision is $92 a share or whatever. And like, I don't think that there's gonna be like some people out there that will be like, yeah, like I'll do the exact same thing if the exact same thing has happened as GameStop was to happen to one of these other companies. But as it stands right now, like the opinions and stuff can shift and change and stuff like that. But at this current time, I don't think that like the sort of like microtransaction trend or anything we're going to see any sort of shift in that, because it's going to be business as usual. What has made them money? They're going to stick with what is making them money, what is not, and then like the business is going to shift that way. The investors are not going to be like, oh, I'm going to like sell my stocks into you when you're making money because, oh, hey, gamers are complaining about the way that you're doing shit. But you're making money off of it.
We're also talking about retail traders too as investors, not just institutions.
Okay, like, but I'm just making it solitary on like one aspect. The game retailers, that's a different like sort of.
No, not game retailers. I'm talking about retail traders, which is like the everyday people that's in the stock market, not like institutional traders, which is like the big people that they're as a company.
Funds,
that's their that's their job is to trade.
Okay.
Retail traders are like you and me, you know.
Why would you see somebody saying, let's blow up this stock?
Because that's exactly what happened to GameStop. It's just a bunch of retail traders like blowing it up.
Right.
Sure,
and,
but it's
like,
based on like what
forcing
Hold on.
institutions to exit their shorts.
think about what
right?
Zeldrick
But then-
said though. There's a situation that put him there.
Right.
I know, but then the thing is that even without that situation, that can happen. Because what happened in GameStop is because all these shorts were coming up, that just blew it up like way more than it should have, because all these shorts were being taken or were being exited, right? So
Okay,
and that
but-
brought it up even higher.
Here's the problem with like when you try to do it with like other companies. The reason why it was so the reason why it was able to do that was because GameStop was at like single digit, like $3, $5, $15 a share, like really cheap for one share. The like majority is able to afford $100, $200. I'm probably being way facetious on that, because there's a lot of people out there that can't afford to even spend money on like 2 stocks. Like,
yeah.
But when the entire point is to like run the Melvin and the short sellers into the ground, like, and to make a point.
But collectively, I think there's a lot of people that can overtake that, that can do more than a few institutions.
There reaches a point where buying one share is like, okay, that's that they can only buy the one share or half of a share. Like when your share is like $90, $100, and this is the example of Activision and EA, like it's harder to make your point when your shares are so expensive, because the average everyday gamer, quote, the gamer, or just like the 99% essentially, like they can't afford to make the point when the share is so damn expensive. That's what I'm getting at.
I would disagree on that, but I think I don't know if we can come into agreement about that. So we'll just leave that part out.
It's okay
But
to agree to disagree. It's quite all right.
That's our disagreement. So
yeah, that's a disagreement that because I believe that most people have the money to do that, and like because of this, like more people are inclined to do that. That's why.
That might be a pretty big over guess right there.
Try
that is
living in my
that is an over
situation,
guess. I'll
in my
agree with
county
you on that.
situation,
Yeah.
In my friend's situation that lives around me, in the California situation, the housing situation, like
Yeah, there's like, I don't know what the statistic is. There's like an insane
finances
number of
are
people
relative.
that like they basically live paycheck to paycheck. It's
And
like an
what
insane number of people. Yeah.
I actually had an argument with this over an argument about In-N-Out. Wasn't even an argument. I had to make a point about In-N-Out burgers, and that was like I keep hearing the opinion that In-N-Out burgers are so great. Why is it so hyped? Because I said it's the best burger you can get for $2.50. Otherwise, my other options are McDonald's or Jack in the Box.
You
And
put
then-
that what?
Hold on. Because my only other options are a $7 burger, $10 burger, $15 burger, or $20 burger.
So he's talking about if he has to go out and buy one, not like making food at home. But yeah, that's like everything else is like multiplied like by a couple of times for the same thing.
So then someone came at me and said, well, Five Guys is cheap. And I said, cheap is relative, because Five Guys is $8 a burger, $6 to $8 a burger.
Yeah. It's cheap here.
So so with Sharpies and my disagreement, cheap is relative. That's it. That's the end of the argument.
Yeah, but then the thing is that I think because there's more people aware of it, that means if we were to put this in a pie, right? Like before, like, you know, imagine like the even if the pie was just this much out of all this, right? Like is the retail traders, and then like the rest of it is the institution. The retail traders are going to be like has gotten to maybe like this or maybe this, right? Which is like, you know, at even 25%, right? So that can change up the trading game. Therefore, like that can trade up. That can change how gaming companies can actually changed how they make games for the consumers.
Okay, I have a question. Sharpie, did you have GameStop before Reddit blew it up?
No,
Did you get GameStop?
I don't trade stocks. I trade index funds and currencies.
So you didn't grab any?
No.
Okay. I'm done.
All right, next topic. LadyInfamous, what do you got for us?
Man, I'm out here thinking about G4 channel. If y'all don't know, that was an old channel on cable, and they had various shows, Attack of the Show and X Play, for example. They are gonna have a show coming out next week, I believe. No, I'm so
29th.
wrong. I don't know. I got my days off.
Yeah, it was last week, I guess.
It was last week.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's only like 4 days ago. You good?
I'm good. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm good. Okay. They came out a few days ago, and my question for you guys is: you think, as a nostalgic platform like G4 back in the days, do you guys think it'll be able to make waves and bring some competitions to the people that's already been doing it for a while now on YouTube, like PlayStation Eccentric? There's Game Rex. I think that's a good one, a good example. Like Try Before You Buy, or before you buy, insert game here. Something like that of those channels.
Do you know what their plan is for, or I guess they're already executing it because the episode's out? What kind of content is like their weekly series supposed to be? Do you know? Like, is it a rehash of something they did before, or is it like a new thing? Or
yeah, they should be doing the rehash of at least the Attack of the Show or X Play, but they're trying to do game reviews and music parodies and sketches. I didn't really see any sketch. Maybe my memory is not all there when it comes to the channel, but I haven't seen I only focused on the game reviews, the gaming interviews, and the competition shows. I never really seen any sketches or music parodies. So I know that a few people that's about to host. Well, I don't know them. I just follow them, but they're gonna do some hosting gigs there, and I think the people will be having the nostalgia aspect of G4, but I ain't gonna sit here and hold you. There's people that's been doing it on YouTube for a while, and I think it could be successful. It's just gonna it's gonna take some consistency. What about you guys?
I've never watched G4 because I never had it.
Wow.
So,
okay. So this is weird because that would mean that three of us never had G4 as a cable or never.
I think it was a
watched
premium cable channel, right?
It was.
Man, y'all ain't got no premium cable.
this was
Yeah,
I
we
was
had
in
basic
college
cable.
at this point. We definitely didn't have premium cable back then because it was kind of
Wow,
early 2000s, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was in high school. I remember this because I remember when I was at the Metreon, we were standing in line for I think Final Fantasy X or something like that. There was an event at the Metreon, and we had a G-Force person for interviewer interview us at over there, or maybe I was in college. I don't remember. It's one or the other, but.
I understand that you guys didn't have cable to watch it, but you guys know at least enough what impact G4 came on the gaming community back in the days. I know you guys know that. So
No,
I just know that people know
I always
what it
saw it
is.
as a
oh my
a
gosh,
not big of a
Sharpie.
journalism. that's how.
Yeah,
You know
so
what?
I mean,
You
I
know
guess that
what?
might be a good point to start. What do you think the impact was of G4 on the gaming community?
To me,
Yeah, in general.
on the gaming community.
Yeah. What do you feel like it brought as a gamer? What did it bring to you?
it was one of the first shows out there that was really focused on gaming, and other
Or
than the game.
channels.
Yeah.
Point being,
I'm saying what I mean is it impacted me enough to continue to play video games. Between G4 and the Game Informer magazine, now it's my holy trinity. So,
What was the second? What'd you say? What magazine?
Game Informer.
Oh, Game Informer. Okay, gotcha.
So
Was that the GameStop one?
no shit.
I
Was
don't
it?
remember.
I don't remember who had what.
GameStop had a magazine too. I wasn't really sure which one it was.
So G4, just for the time frame that it was at, like this was the entryway for just
Public journals or
games
mass
coming
media.
Games coming into mass media, because otherwise you had just magazines, and then you had the early days of YouTube, which
not only that, GameSpot had this show called On the Spot.
Yeah, but okay, like what year are we talking about?
This was around the same time.
Okay, but like this I only have this perspective of like that time frame. That is, I could either get dial-up or DSL, and it was always dial-up, and it was like for at most in my lifetime a full year. Otherwise, I didn't have internet like where I was. I also only had basic television for probably 2 years, like in total. After I think 6th grade to high school, and again, I'm 30, so this was like
but also like media back then on the internet was also low quality too, because it was run on like Real Player.
So the point I'm trying to okay, thank you. You're homing in on something. The mass media portion being that it's on TV, like, and it's, you know, more. I'm the lower denominator. Like, I never had the premium TV, but you know, it was accessible. Like the TV portion being more accessible to more people, so it was there. So the fact that like a lot of people have like the what G4 was, to then now they're bringing it back, but it's a Twitch channel or YouTube channel, it's a live stream of it. Like I think what we are gonna get is more of that, oh man, I remember that, and then go back to it. And my opinion is that it's gonna be a spark, and then it's gonna die off. The only way that it's going to hold up is who the fuck is hosting it, who the hell is voicing over the reviews, who is going to be doing these sketches, who's writing their sketches. Like this is another my opinion, they don't have that good of writers. That's just me, and I don't think that it's just gonna last. I think people are gonna keep on going on with what they're going on.
So what shows did you watch, LadyInfamous?
The one that stuck in my head is this one that they were looking for. I think it was a reality show, but it was like 10 contestants, and they were talking about like the best gamers all over the world. I don't remember the name.
Okay.
And they did like crazy competitions while playing video games. So, for example, like one challenge that I remember, it was so long ago, like they would play a video game with the controller, like, I don't know how they did it, like backwards. And they had a mirror. They had a mirror like in front of them. So they really had to like play the video games backwards. And I was like, wow, they I don't know, it was probably like a prize, like a $50,000 and maybe like an interview or something. The prize wasn't that big, but I just really liked the reviews as well, because all I had was that. So it was good to hear some perspective on the game. What are you laughing at? Are you laughing at me, bro?
I'm not laughing at you. It's more like the contest or whatever.
Yeah, it was stupid, right?
It was stupid. But here's the reason why I'm laughing at it is that like I was like, somebody found it amazing to me, or like to them, that like I would play video games with my head behind my back like this, and I'd just be playing like all the time, and like not like the orientation or whatever. It's just I held it like this, and I just put it right over my head like this, and I'm just playing. And the fact that like I was doing that, they were like, "How the fuck are you doing that?" It's like, it's not that hard. Like,
well,
Your fingers know where the buttons
I'll
are.
tell you something. When I was working at the Metreon, when I worked at the PlayStation store at the Metreon, there was a kid, on one of the demo stations, his natural way of playing the game was like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See,
This is how he played games because he was left-handed.
Oh, good for him.
Okay, I get that. I totally do. I mean, as far as for like the left-handed, right-handed thing, like, but because like the you didn't have different control mappings.
Yeah, well, yeah, and he played it like upside down, so he couldn't see any of the key mapping. So it was just natural for him to just play like that.
Yeah, that's so weird. That's wild. That's wild. That's a different type of thinking.
I got a question for you, LadyInfamous, just specific to this because you were like the one that watched it, and maybe you guys know. I don't know how much you've seen of G4 stuff, but like, so one of the things that like I feel like nostalgia has a tendency to do is it has a tendency to say like, in order for us to be successful, we need to do the same thing we did before. Like if we're going to capture people's nostalgia, it has to basically be the same as before. So the question is, considering all this YouTube content that's out there now, which number one has a tendency to like people find stuff that's catered to them versus like, maybe when stuff was on TV before and you were limited in terms of your choices. Do you think that if they stick to the same formula, that like Zeldrick was saying, that there would be just a spark and then it would just like flatline? If they stick to the same formula.
No, they gotta adapt to 2021.
Like what could you see as something they would need to change?
Instead of the musical parodies, esport highlights, using like ESPN style, get like top plays in Overwatch or top plays of the week, or what else? Streamers, content creator inside, interviews with certain content creators if they can.
Didn't they say they were gonna do the musical parodies though? That's already on like the docket.
Man, I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
You asked me what they needed to do.
Sure.
And I'm telling you what they needed to do. They just gotta accommodate the audience of the 2021. If they can't, that nostalgia is gonna probably hit about 6 months. And then everybody's gonna go back to the usual people that they listen to on YouTube or watch on YouTube.
So
do you think it should just be more raw instead of being overly produced?
It should be raw.
Yeah, I can see that. What were you gonna say, Zeldrick? Sorry.
Because you're smiling. You smiling when you said raw. So, okay. So, I have one question. Is this G4 streaming channel? Is it going to be 24 hours? Always on?
I don't know. I don't know.
Because it's going to be weird if they plan on doing reviews, skits, music parodies, interviews, and like it's 24 hours. Like they could have those time slots of like, we do our show here, here, and here, and then they fill in the time with like reviews and interviews and stuff. But like, you end up like running out of material in like 24 hours to play in that full 24 hours. However, like then it's a little bit circumvented when like you have something that is like NPR, where like it's always on, they're always doing stuff. However, like they repeat stuff like in the span of like 36-ish hours or something like that. There have been times where like I hear the same news article twice and I'm like, I remember this exactly and I don't know why you're replaying it, but it's because that there's different audiences during different days. So that could be a thing. But when you're playing like the same Biomutant review 3 or 4 times in a day, or actually however many times in one day, because it's a new game, it then turns into more of like the TVs at GameStop, where they're like playing like the same exact video that's maybe 3 hours long, like all day. But they have more content to fill that, so you might be seeing like the same thing 4 times over in 24 hours. I don't know. Like I don't know. Like it just. This is kind of a weird thing.
It's a no for you, dog. It's a no for you, dog, huh?
It's not more like it's a no to me. It's just like I have no idea how they're gonna do this, and I don't know how they're gonna like what their game plan is. I really don't.
Well, we'll wait and see. We'll just gonna have to wait a couple episodes down the road and then do a recap.
Cool.
Well,
Who
T
got the next
I'll
topic?
say, should
T,
I just
T
go?
with it. T with it. Come on now.
You can go or I can go. What do you want?
I'll go.
Okay.
So the article that I kind of latched onto, well, first off, let me say this, because like, if you go back and listen to the archive for the Some Sort of Gaming podcast, we did have a pretty significant conversation before about Stadia. And this is before it came out. This is when they were kind of ramping up or whatever. And I was actually pretty gung ho about it. I was saying that like I could see that like this is sort of the future where games is going, which I think is still kind of proving itself at this point. But also that like it felt significant to me that like Stadia was kind of like the first, what Google will say was the first one to kind of jump straight in and say, all right, we're going to like make this platform specifically just for cloud-based gaming, at least first one in current times, because there was one other service, I'm forgetting the name
Go
of it.
Live.
Well, there's Go Live, and there was another one that began with an O, I think, that I had for a little while. But it was
Or on live. That's
there
what it
you
was.
go. There you go.
Yeah.
But they were the first one to kind of like, I feel like, to release a platform and say this is going to be exclusive to cloud-based gaming, and we're going to try to bring like, you know, big titles to it as well. So I kind of was gung-ho about it, which leads to kind of like the article, which basically is showcasing that like Google shut down Stadia Games and Entertainment, which, just for like clarification / qualification, is more so their like internal development studio where they were trying to make games specifically for the Stadia. Essentially meaning that like Stadia is still going to be around, but it's going to be more so like focused on continuing to develop, push the technology forward and develop the technology, but also like having third-party games. They're just going to basically not make their own games anymore, is what it is. So like I said, they just shut that down. And also, I guess Jade Raymond, who was like the vice president, is going to be leaving Google, which is actually pretty big too. And they have to like, I guess they have to sort of find new jobs or let go of like 150 like developers essentially. So when I saw this, like the first thing I thought of was like, not necessarily, again, is I think a lot of people are interpreting this as like, oh, Stadia's, you know, they're drowning right now. They're like, they can't keep their heads above water. This is basically like the death sentence for Stadia. So the first thing I thought was like, I get it. They're not developing their own games anymore, and they're kind of going to take another approach to it. But the other thing that I kind of thought of was like, and this is the question I wanted to pose to you guys, is like, considering sort of how this played out and what you might have thought were either the positives or negatives of the Stadia service or whatever, do you feel like part of the problem might have been just that like it's basically like an uphill battle completely for anybody to try to make a new console platform at this point when they have to compete with like Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo? Like, what do you guys think?
I'm very sad. I'm sad in the fact that people lost their jobs, and I think the best thing that could have happened to the Stadia is having their own games. To me, that was the biggest draw, to actually have one. But that them dropping it all together, it's like, and working on third parties, they got to compete with the other cloud services. Yeah, I think any hardware that's trying to come in here at 2021, especially when it comes to cloud gaming, they got to fight, and it is a uphill battle. I agree, because not everybody can spend money on every single piece of equipment or a piece of hardware and have it. And I know people that don't want to buy any hardware and then have that collect dust, you know? So, but I already said it, man. I already knew
you don't gotta lie. We know you happy that Stadia died.
No, I told you. I was like, I told you why you spend your money on that, man.
Well, I mean, like, that's what I was trying to say. I think it's kind of, it might be a little bit too early to decide that Stadia is like done, because I like at this point, yeah,
I
they're not
agree.
making their own games anymore. But hypothetically, if cloud-based gaming becomes as big as we're all expecting it to, at some point it really doesn't matter which system you have. So like obviously you might need the Microsoft one for like first party titles and the Sony one for first party titles, but like if you're playing Call of Duty, it honestly doesn't matter which console you're on if they're all cloud based. So in the future, they could, to me, in a way, it might be just saying they were a little bit. I thought it was great that they were like early in the game, but they might have been a little bit too early to be competitive.
Premature.
Yeah, yeah, in a way,
Yeah.
yeah.
But I think like they need to do that in order to move the industry forward,
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
right? Like they might. Well, I don't know if they're going to fail at it because I think it's in Google's best interest to actually do it. But so I think that's why they're just going to keep going for it. I already talked about why it's in their best interest. I'll probably make a video about it like separately. But I also think like you said like, oh, I don't have money to buy hardware for this. Well, I'm like saying you don't need to buy hardware for Stadia. That's the whole point, right? Like you already have the hardware. Which is like a dinky ass computer. It'll run on like $100 laptop, right? That's
Got
the
the
whole point of
controller
it.
and the little disc that comes.
You don't
with
need
it.
you don't need it. You can if you have like an Xbox controller
That
or a
works.
PlayStation controller or keyboard or mouse, those will work too.
You could
Right.
you could have like a Chromebook. Like those are the
You can have a
cheapest like
Chromebook.
laptops. Yeah, it's a Google thing. But like more the point is that like you were saying, you can buy $100 laptop, and that is not
Install
made
Google Chrome.
exactly, and then you can just play Assassin's Creed Odyssey on it, like just because it runs on the browser. And like yeah, it's really sad that in the span that Google Stadia started, and then now a huge employment force has to find new jobs, and because now that Google's not making any games themselves, like that shit is rough. That sucks.
I mean, it sounds like they said they were going to try to like reroute as many people within Google as possible. So hopefully that won't be like a ton of people that have to find completely new jobs. But yeah, that part of it does suck.
But the other thing is that like as far as for I do agree that that it's too soon for like the Google Stadia platform as far as for what it's built on. Like that it I think it's more going to be well, here's what I hope anyways, is that because like I can't like just restrain myself and say like because the way that you play Stadia and like all this and the cloud-based gaming, I don't like it at all as far as for my personal like how I like to play games. I hate it. But as far as for cloud-based gaming, yes, I agree that it is the next way of being able to play games. What I do hope that Google does is that like they just kind of like lay low with everything, and that they just make it more accessible and get more people to just be like, yeah, like you can play like third parties, this, that, and the other thing. Like we'll have a bunch of games on our cloud based or whatever.
And work on their marketing.
Work on their marketing, yes. So that when it does come time to then like knock it out of the park, like then they'll sleep on it. Like they'll keep advertising it, they'll keep putting it forward and be like, we're here. But then like once cloud-based gaming is like, this is the time to do it, then they run off with it, and then they can make their studio again, maybe.
Yeah, I think like the biggest feature that I'm waiting for them to implement is the YouTube implementation, which is like if somebody's playing a game, you can just press a button and be able to jump into a game.
Wait, if
without
somebody's
installing the game or something like that.
Jump in a game
it's
with
just
them?
all run in the browser.
Yeah, do you mean jump in the game with them? Is that what you're saying?
Or just be, if it's like a single player game, that you should just be able to just jump into the game that the streamer or a YouTuber was playing, whether it's a live YouTuber or not.
Okay.
Because right now, like underneath the YouTube like video, when you're watching a YouTube video, like it will show like what game that they're playing. You can click on it and it'll show you like all other like YouTube videos. It'll have like a YouTube page just for that game with all the YouTube videos that was uploaded recently about that game, or like whoever's live for that game.
Yeah. My first thought with that was, if it's a single player game, like, yeah, totally, like just like click it and then like Stadia opens up on a different tab or new window pops up and you're playing your single player game. But if it was like you're playing online co-op or PvP or something like that, some asshole clicks that button and it's just like, yeah, let me just ruin their day and like be on their team or go against them and then just fucking wreck them.
Well, I mean, I assume you'd have
I
to
mean,
accept
it's not like
it.
it's like
letting them
people
do
do that right now anyways, right?
Well,
Stream
but
sniping.
it's harder. Like the stream sniping, you actually have to put effort in, and then if you implement that into just like one click that's on YouTube, then it's just like, click, I'm already in their game. Let me just make them have.
But I think
day.
the pros will outweigh that con.
I mean, honestly, I think it would just play out like Parsec, where it's like, yeah, you can try to join, but I have to accept you joining, versus like, just being able to jump in on your own without me having to even let you in. But I bet you y'all are right. I bet you that's where it's going. They'll try to have Stadia just built into the Chrome browser, so that like hopefully we can do what Sharpie is talking about, or like you just click or you guys are both talking about, you just click a button and it starts the game. But honestly, I think it's a smart idea to like just say, let's not focus on developing our own games, because that is something that probably takes like a lot of time and experience and all that stuff to make something like great, versus just saying, oh, let's throw money at it, like, which is I'm guessing in a lot of ways is what they did. It was like, let's just throw a bunch of money at it. And realistically, people don't go on. I don't think anybody would have gone on to Stadia looking for new games specifically. They wanted like to be able to play whatever game they'd be able to play on any other console, but just cloud-based. And I think that was actually, for me as like a owner, that was the biggest problem. Is like you go in there and the library sucks. It's like there's not like new games. There's a bunch of like, obviously Stadia created games, but it's like $10 and you get old games and like our games that, might be good and might not be. So it might have just been a bad business model, or a bad attempt at a business model. Did any of you guys try it? I don't know.
Yeah. I was a beta tester.
Oh, you're a beta tester. Nice.
Yeah, so before it was even called Stadia.
Yeah. I think you said that. You played Assassin's Creed, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh yeah, that was offered to me too. Well, that was offered to like everybody, but like I beta tested Humanity, I think it was called. Some game that is like Civilization that Sega is making. But I was like, okay, so this is the only way I'm going to be able to play this demo. Okay. And then I played it for maybe like 10 minutes and then immediately was like, I think I'm done playing this game because I don't want to spend any more of my data playing this game because it's being streamed, not actually.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest bottleneck right now is the data.
Have you ever tried it, LadyInfamous? It's that quiet no.
Yeah. For anybody listening in audio only, she shook her head.
That is correct. I did shake my head silently.
Yeah.
Okay, what else we got? Zeldrick, you got something for us?
I do.
Okay.
So a couple of us have talked about it last week after the podcast. However, do you guys, I guess for Unsheath and JSharpie, before we talked about it, did you guys ever hear about the game Biomutant?
Yeah, but I just got that reminder when you and I were talking about it.
Okay, and that was a reminder. And you had completely forgot about it. Sharpie, did you completely forget about it?
I completely forgot about it, but I remember seeing the promotional poster for it, so on Steam.
Okay. So they have set a release date for May 25th. And I've kept tabs on this Like, here's how much I've had to aggressively keep tabs, like, and what that has given me. It has given me 2 updates. Sorry, no, not 2 updates. 3 updates. 1 was a trailer. 2 was gameplay. A third one was, sorry, we're being quiet. We're working hard. That was the entire message. So, and I feel like that. When we were like last week when we were talking about it, that there is a huge marketing thing that is like going wrong with this, and that's the reason. Here's the reason why that I bring up that it's going wrong, and it's because they have 2 collector's editions, one that is $150, another one that is $400. I put up the wrong number of fingers. $400. So for everybody that either forgot about it or just missed the mark completely that this game actually exists and is like, fucking $400 for this game? Like, for a collector's edition? And like, who the hell would buy that? For all of us that have actually kept tabs on Biomutant, $400 for a game that I don't even know what the fuck it's about and how you play the game and anything, because they haven't told us jack shit about it. They have told us details, some, but like probably enough details that would fit like a 2-page essay. Like, that's it. The gameplay trailers that we got have not even like, shown the polish from it. So there's a follow-up article about this. Because the Biomutant devs explain why the game was announced for last gen consoles and not current gen. And within all of these articles that explain the same sort of news thing, there's nothing about like, oh, PS4 to PS5 upgrade, or like there's a PS5 edition or anything like that. For one, it is a company, or it's a dev team of 20 people. That's something to think about. 2, it's a big game for, it's a big game for 20 people. It's a huge amount of work for QA because it's not easy in an open world game to find them. And then once they've been found, we have to fix them. And that's put some additional challenges on us being a small team. Any game is going to ship with smaller bugs, but I'm talking about bugs that are truly disruptive to the game experience. We don't want to ship with that. I think that's what caused us to just wait until we were ready with it. So after that, when we developed the game, we led on the last gen. And if you look at it from a development perspective, and like, this is just a message in game dev in general, it's really important because it's easier to scale up instead of scaling down. So if you're trying to cover all your bases, and we've talked about a game and a dev. Everybody has been talking about a game and a developer for eons now. It's harder for a game dev to go cover all of their bases rather than just stick with the one plan that they have and then go upwards from there and then build on it. It's an ambitious sort of thing for a 20-man dev to tackle all this on. And for one, like, I'm still excited about this. The fact that like I got this sort of like amount of information that it's the publisher being that is THQ Nordic, and that it's a developer company that was made up of I want to say previous Respawn devs of the first Titanfall and like a couple other people. They're called Experiment 101. Now, with this, I still think that the fact that we have a game that doesn't really have that much marketing, and where marketing has kind of not really been their strongest point, I have this kind of hopeful thinking that this game will be really, really good. But as far as they're not looking for like day one sales, they're just looking for a good game, and that's it. And it's very admirable. And I guess it's more of word of mouth is going to speak for themselves. So the question I want to bring is, do companies need to do more than gameplay cinematic trailers to keep your interest, or do they need to do something different? And it's kind of like a weird phrase question, but I want to start off with something with an example, because we get gameplay trailers and cinematic trailers all the time. We either get one or the other, we get both, and we get a couple of them here or there. Here's like quick two examples. Werewolf the Apocalypse. We've gotten a couple of cinematic trailers and we've gotten 2 gameplay trailers, and then each one has gotten me more interested, and that's fine and dandy. The last gameplay trailer got me totally into it, and I was thinking, okay, $40, that's good. Like, I can have some silly fun with that. However, do you guys know of a game called Backbone?
No.
That's the
No.
noir, like, is I think that's the one. I think I played the demo of it like a little while back, where you're like, I think you're like a fox or something detective.
You're a raccoon detective you're a raccoon detective in it's purely like, there's a couple of like QTEs, but it's purely like exploration, investigative, talking to people and stuff and figuring out the story, multiple paths, yada yada yada. So how, for me, what has been good marketing to them is their social media presence. And it's not like, here's like some clips from our game over and over and over again. Their social media person is active. They are kind of younger, I would say, more of like in their mid 20s, maybe 30s, it feels like, or they know like how to like actually speak to people on the internet, what the internet demographic around gamers are and like progressive gamers. But they know memes, they know how to really draw attention and what really picks up more, and just kind of like, being silly and fun and kind of being active on that point. And to me, that's cheap marketing. And it's not even a bad sense of the term cheap marketing. It's just that you're paying someone to be part of their social media, but also maybe even a dev. So it's pretty much like you're pretty much advertising the game yourself by just being really cool on the internet. So do you think that marketing strategies just have to be different to like keep your interest, besides here's gameplay?
Yeah, because I've been bamboozled off cinematic gameplay before. So
Very recently, right?
what game recently that I got bamboozled?
Cyberpunk.
Yeah,
no, she likes that.
I beat it, bugs and all, but I uninstalled it as soon as I was done.
Okay, well, I mean, that's an outlier, but I'm talking about like, okay, you get like a cinematic trailer and you get a gameplay trailer, but like, let's say that like, and every Call of Duty has like a cinematic trailer and a gameplay trailer, but like you're seeing the same thing over and over and over again. Like you said with like Call of Duty 3, like there's always that train scene, or there's always that car chase scene, or whatever. Like we saw a car chase scene in Cold War. And that was cool. But like, do they need to do something different than just
yes.
cinematic and
yes.
game?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, because it's not. I guess before I was like maybe naive about it, like, ooh, a cinematic trailer. Let me go cop this day one. And what I saw at the cinematic trailer was not the same thing that I bought. So yeah, it's gonna, like you said, it's gonna have to be media presence. It's gonna have to be interviews. The thing that I did like about Cyberpunk is that they let you in this world if you choose to see it, with interviews, concept drawings, voice actors, stuff like that. I ain't got no problem with that. But what happened was all that did not equal up the product that they had. So they're gonna have to find a balance. You have to find a balance with that.
Cyberpunk, we'll have to like really like put that as like a side thing, because there's just problems with the marketing not leading to the actual like product or whatever. But like that's a mismatch. It's a mismatch in what the product actually was. So
yeah, from what I hear about Cyberpunk, more so it's like, it's not that they didn't deliver on what they were talking about, it's that they delivered a buggy version of what they were talking about. So
right.
Yeah.
So Sharpie, like, what do you think?
I just think like, if you're going to be making a game, make an early announcement and make a very, very late announcement when you're almost done with the game. Don't keep making the like And then if you're gonna do that, I don't know, having like if you're gonna announce like a bundle, I feel like it should be you should have it should be within the year of release, and you're gonna have to have, how would you say this, a good enough gameplay trailers right before release to have that bundle, or have like a reputation of having a good game,
or at least the hype behind it, like people feeling like there's a lot of anticipation for the game. Then yeah, but if there's not as much hype, then having a bundle seems kind of, I don't know, it feels a little disingenuous to me.
Well, so more than gameplay and cinematic. That's my question, because it seems like from your answer that is like, yeah, gameplay and cinematics are just fine. That gets the line, or like it gets the point across to me just fine. But like when you have, here's a different example. Overwatch, like they have their comics. They have like, because the center point of like what Overwatch is supposed to be, not just like the gameplay, is that it's their characters. Their characters are unique. So they have comics, or they have videos, that is like cinematic, but like they tell stories about their characters that have nothing to do with the game. So like, is there do they have to do something different than that? Do you want them to do something different than that, or do you think that they're going to have to do something from that? Because for you, like the cinematic and gameplay is enough for you. It seems like, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It should be enough. It, like, if they go into too much detail, then it becomes like you're kind of spoiling like the game experience for me. So
okay. T, what about you?
I think ideally for me, I'm okay with an early cinematic. After you show me that early cinematic, don't show me a cinematic like ever again. Like, I just want to see the one to get me like hyped, like, oh, that looks cool. After that, like, honestly, I don't even like, I would prefer not even to get a gameplay trailer. I would prefer them to put like emphasis on a demo, so I can like get some kind of, slice of the experience, just to see how, not necessarily just see how it looks, but see how it plays and how it feels and stuff like that. And then after that, just, social media, in between social media presence, but after that, just kind of like social media presence and stuff like that. Maybe some insider information, like YouTube videos to say, oh, this is how the development is going along. This is how, there's some like artwork from it and stuff like that to keep people interested. But then I'd like just release the game after that. Like maybe have a little bit more like, maybe a trailer with gameplay like close to release so that you can still remember and get hyped for it. But like, I think for me, a lot of it is just kind of like, they overdo it, because I either see stuff super early and then forget about it. I see too much and I start losing hype. I see just enough and it's not great, so I lose hype. Or like, I literally don't know anything until it comes out. Like, to me,
Right.
I'm with you on like that kind of maintain probably social media presence, but all I'd like is a cinematic trailer, a demo, and maybe one more trailer before it comes out.
Okay. If I may point out something that is specific to indie devs and stuff, that like what has done for me really good with indie devs is that like, yeah, social media presence, but if your game is more like combat focused and stuff, Mighty Goose is actually a really, really good example, because like it's a pixel game, and they like it because it's kind of like Contra or a Metal Slug. They just the goose is being like it's really, really funny, but like show like a snippet. It's like 5 seconds, and like just a goose like blowing shit up and everything. It's like, here's how development's going, and like and like that's it. And then maybe like 2 weeks later, maybe like a month later, probably like infrequently, just like, here's like another thing like I fixed, and like it just maybe like the same level or a different level, and it's just like something completely different. And I think showing like your combat development and what you're fixing and keeping that social media presence, if that's the point of what you're focusing on the game, I think that does a lot of good for just your game in general.
yeah, I kind of agree. I mean, a AAA title, well, AAA producer game would have been like that I remember recent as of the past 10 years would be Life is Strange, right? That it just came out of nowhere and then everybody just jumped onto that and it was a good game.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Well, we're also coming around in time. Let's start closing out with what people's socials and everything like that. So, Lady Infamous, start off with you and then start closing out with what your socials and all that.
We're gonna play some Call of Duty, Sea of Thieves, and some Outlast 2. You can check me out at lady_infamous 415 on Twitch. You can check me at my side piece, aka Twitter, Lady Infamous 415, all in one word. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we will see you next week.
I don't know what the hell I'm gonna be playing this week. I'm gonna try to get the medium done, but like I just got a lot of work to do, so unfortunately I might not be able to. But if I am, if people want to check me out, twitch.tv/UnsheathedP, and you can follow me on Twitter at UnsheathedP as well, and UnsheathedProductions on YouTube.
You can check me out on Twitch and on Twitter at Zeldrick. This week, I have a couple of days of streaming. It's Final Fantasy 14. I'll be streaming the announcement showcase for Final Fantasy 14. That is going to be the next expansion details, well, like new jobs, a whole bunch of updates. And I'm going to be teamed with Ragehound, who's actually a head of one of the teams I'm on, Underdog, and that's a lot of fun. And then Saturday is going to be more farming in Final Fantasy 14. I might have a stream on Sunday. It's actually looking likely, but you can catch me at Zeldrick on Twitch and on Twitter to see if that's actually true or not. I don't know what I'll be streaming on that day. What about you, Sharpie?
All right, and you can find me at twitch.tv/JSharpie, and you can find me on YouTube at JSharpie live if you want to watch me there with better quality. Well, anyways, I don't really have a plan, but of what I'm going to be playing, maybe I got nothing right now. So anyways, yeah, that is all for this week. Thanks LadyInfamous, UnsheathedProductions, and Zeldrick for joining in on the podcast. And thanks for everybody that joined us live in the chat. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Leave a comment on the discussions under YouTube. We're also on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and Anchor. And please leave a review on Apple Podcasts. We'll be back next week.